Okay, so we plot the points. So 4 back and 5 up. Label it A. Plot your next point, negative 7, 6. Label it B. Plot your third point, C, as negative 1, 7. Connect the dots. The next step says to translate it. They're asking us to move x and y. X is going to now be x plus 8, and y will be y minus 2. What does that mean? Over 8, down 2. Which way over? Right 8, down 2. So I move every single point 8 right and down 2. Label it with a prime. Connect the dots. Okay. Once you've got them connected, now that's my A prime, B prime, and C prime. The next step is to reflect across the x-axis. So we're reflecting our image, not our pre-image. We're reflecting our translation. We don't throw things in my classroom. No. Reflecting across the x-axis. Here's our x-axis. Okay? When you're reflecting across the x-axis, that means that what was A is still A, but the B changes sign. So if it was a positive B, it will now be a negative B. The y values will be negative. If they were negative, they become positive. We change the sign. So the other way of looking at it is you can say I need to step 3 steps. I'm 3 steps above for A prime, so I will be 3 steps below for A double prime. I was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 steps above for C, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 steps below for C double prime. And B prime was 1, 2, 3, 4 steps above the x-axis, so 1, 2, 3, 4 steps below the x-axis. B double prime. Connect your triangles, and you're good. This is your final answer. Okay? Does anybody need to see number 2 worked, or are you okay? Okay? So number 2, same thing, just more practice. You have to do one of those on the final, give you another one to practice. Okay? Number 4, we're asked to prove 2 triangles congruent. Actually, we're asked to prove 2 sides are congruent of 2 triangles. So we're looking to prove, or trying to prove, GH is congruent to GK. What's the first step of every proof? Write the given. What do these lines mean? Parallel. The second step to every proof is to mark things up. Okay, don't stop with just writing it down. Make sure that you have your marks showing what's been given. So FH is parallel to LK was given to you with these arrows. So they've done the marking for you. And when they said that GF is congruent to GL, that means segment GF and segment GL are the same length. So we want a hash on those sides to show that they have the same length. Okay? Then we have 5 ways of proving triangles congruent. One of them is HL. HL stands for Hypotenuse leg. Are there any right angles here? No, so that's not even an option. Okay? The second way is side, side, side. We can use side, angle, side, angle, angle, side, and angle, side, angle. Those are our 5 ways of proving triangles congruent. Okay? Can't be HL, there's no right angle there. Okay? So, what's the next step? Got to figure out which one of those it is, right? In order to prove triangles congruent, since we can't use HL, we have to get 3 parts congruent to 3 parts. Right now we have just one. We have a side congruent to a side. So the next thing to think of is, can I find any vertical angles and can I find any sides that are shared by both? For example, if I had a triangle that looked like this and it had a bisector in between, okay? This is a side that's included in both of those triangles. We don't have that situation, okay? Likewise, if I had an isosceles triangle, then the opposite legs would be congruent. So we can't get sides congruent there either. So all we can do is focus on angles, okay? So we're looking for angles that are congruent. Brandon said vertical. Everybody see the vertical angles? Okay, it's not enough to know where they're at. Mark them. Show the arcs that show that those 2 angles are congruent. It will help you figure out how the triangles are congruent. So mark up your drawing. Okay, so my next step can be, and it doesn't have to be in this order, my next step can be to say that I have 2 angles that are congruent. Someone name those angles for me. FGH and FGK. Sorry, LGK. Thank you. Why can't he just say angle G is congruent to angle G? There's lots of angles there, aren't there? More than one angle, so we can't use a single letter. Okay? So you said that these are congruent by vertical angles. Okay? So we have a pair of sides and we have a pair of angles. We're almost there. Here's a hint. Anytime you see parallel lines, know that you're going to find a pair of angles that are congruent. Okay? Whenever you see parallel lines, this is a hint that you have angles that will be congruent. Okay? To find those angles, you have to sometimes mark up that drawing a bit. So we have 2 lines that are parallel, and they are cut by a transversal. Okay? What's one angle that's formed by that line and that parallel? That transversal, angle L. So angle L is going to be congruent to what? Good. What's the reason? Not vertical angles, because they have to be made by 2 intersecting lines and only share a vertex. 2 parallel lines cut by a transversal. Are they on the same side or opposite sides of that transversal? They're alternate, right? Now, are they between the parallel lines or outside of the parallel lines? If we look at it just at those lines, it looks something like this. Okay? This is congruent to this. Alternate interior. Okay? So you have 3 options with parallel lines to prove lines or angles are congruent. One of them is alternate interior. One is alternate exterior. And one is corresponding. Okay? So we now have an angle, a side, and an angle congruent to an angle, a side, and an angle. Okay, thank you. So the triangles are congruent, right? Okay, angle, side, angle. We have to be careful to name them correctly. If we're naming it triangle FHG, then we better name it triangle LKG. But there are lots of ways that you can name those triangles, as long as you're careful to make sure the corresponding parts are lined up. Okay? Last step. Last step, we need to get the two parts congruent. So GH congruent to GK. What's the reason? Why are GH and GK congruent? So we spent our time figuring out that these two triangles are congruent. So why are the individual parts of those triangles congruent? No. C, P, C, T, C. Corresponding parts of congruent triangles are congruent. Okay? All right. Everybody good with this one? Not quite? One more time to write? Okay, here we go. Next example, I need you to change it for me a little bit. I need you to make your sheet match mine. We're trying to prove FH is congruent to KL. Segment FH congruent to segment KL. Thank you. Okay, so that's our goal. First step in a proof, always. What's the first step in a proof, guys? Given. Write them down. Okay, we know what we're trying to prove. We have what we have been given. Yes, sir. Okay, we know what we've been given, and we know what we're trying to prove, right? Okay, but what's the second step of a proof? Mark your diagram up. This is just a blank slate right now. Okay, so we need to mark up our diagram. Okay. So we're marking up our diagram. If G is the midpoint of FL, here's FL. Segment FL is this long segment. They told us that G is the midpoint. What does that mean? It splits that into two equal segments. Those two equal segments are what? FG and GL. Definition of midpoint. Okay? We also were told that GH and GK are congruent by a given. So we better mark GH and GK congruent. That would make G the midpoint of F of HK, isn't it? Okay? So we have two pairs of sides. Let's get an angle. How do we get a pair of angles? Vertical. So let's name them properly. We need a three-letter combination. So are the triangles congruent? Side angle, side. Yep. Corresponding parts of congruent triangles are congruent, so FH is congruent to KL. Corresponding parts of congruent triangles are congruent. Corresponding angles of congruent triangles, corresponding sides of congruent triangles will be congruent. Okay. So you have a transformation, either some sort of translation, rotation, reflection combination that you're working on for your first question on your test, your final. Your performance second question is a proof involving triangles. Okay? Third question. Your third question is an algebraic proof. Okay? Third question is an algebraic proof. Okay? Okay? So think about algebraic proofs. What kinds of things could we use to prove that x was equal to something? Distribute. Okay? So that's our first step here, isn't it? We want to clear the parentheses. Distributing the 2 to both sides. Okay? So, what's the next step? Add the, be careful though. Yep, we have them on the same side. So we're going to combine our like terms and call it 2x minus 2 equals 8. And you can either call that combining like terms, or you can call that simplify. Both work. Both are fine. Okay? Ryan, what's the next step in solving this? Add the 2 to the 8. So 2x will now be equal to 10. When he added the 2 to 8, he's using the addition property of equality. Jennifer, what's the last step? Divide. So when you ask yourself what's the last step, write down what you decided. Rewrite that so you can actually read it. And we're done. Okay? Does anyone need to see the next one worked? No, you can do that one, right? Okay. So we're good with this one. All right. Last problem. Okay, last type of problem on your midterm, on your final. Andrew, can you please be quiet? Yes. Oh, I will send an email. So, most important part to these types of problems is to write in your drawing. It's going to help you. So when we say that 1 is equal to 115 degrees, this is missing a parallel lines symbol, by the way. Okay? So 1 is equal to 115 degrees. 4 is also equal to 115 degrees. Why is 4 also 115? They're vertical. You don't have to write this on your test, but it's good to know. Okay?
What are you guys doing?
So you don't have to write these down, the reasons why these things are true, but it's not a bad idea to do it. Okay? So 4 is also 115. Okay, so 5 is also 115. Why is 5 115 degrees? It's alternate interior to 4. It's corresponding to 1. So both of those are right. Okay? So corresponding to angle 1 or alternate interior to angle 4. Okay? So write those in there. Then our last, this one's also going to be 115 degrees because it's vertical or it's corresponding to 4 or alternate exterior to angle 1. The other ones are 65. Why 65? They're a linear pair, so 180 minus 115. Okay? So I don't need to do a problem like this one, right? You all can do those. Okay? Make sure you have a calculator with you though so you can have some help with those problems. All right, one more example of triangle congruence. Okay? Okay? So it's crucial that you write your givens down, but it's also crucial that you make your marks. Okay? So when they say that segment PT and segment PS are congruent, they gave you the marks. They also told us that segment PQ bisects angle SPT. What does that mean? PQ bisects SPT. Okay? PQ. Yes. Okay, I like that. Let's put PQ is congruent to PQ. If these are out of order, it does not hurt a thing. You can have it in a different order. You may notice something before you notice something else. That's by reflexive. And again, this angle was bisected. What does that mean? Cut in half. So these should be equal parts, right? Angle SPQ congruent to TPQ. Okay? Definition of bisector. Do we have enough? Side angle side, right? Okay. And they didn't ask us to find the corresponding parts, so we stop. We don't have to go any further. It's always easy when you have a side that's connected to both. Okay? We have one more. Okay? I don't. Move it out of the way so she can see better. Move it back. Thank you. All right, last example. Okay? Here comes the next one. Okay. Okay, we'll come back in just a sec. Okay? So, last example. What kind of lines are these? Two pairs of parallel lines, right? Okay? So we talked about alternate interior angles being congruent, and we talked about alternate exterior angles being congruent and corresponding. We have a fourth type of angle that has a special name. That fourth type of angle, anybody remember what they're called? Okay. So we had alternate interior. We have consecutive interior. Consecutive interior are supplementary. Okay? So, if this is 80 degrees, angle 3 is consecutive interior with it, right? So they should add up to 180. So that's 100. And that means that 2 is consecutive interior with 3. So it's got to be 80. And 1 has to be 100. Okay? That's all that there is for those. Okay? All right, so I have another review sheet for you. And then tomorrow we'll start reviewing for the multiple choice.